Hi, everybody. Welcome to Career Services.
Hi, my name is Calvin. I'm one of the career advisors, and hopefully you'll get to know me over the period of time that you're studying. We're here today to talk about looking for work looking for part-time jobs.
And I'm Lacey. I'm also a career advisor. Today we're going to be sharing, like Calvin said, just a couple quick tips and tricks on how to look for work more effectively. So by the end of this video, you're going to learn what the 3 key components of an effective job search are, what criteria and considerations to focus on for your specific career path and goals, and also what services and resources are available at George Brown to help you with that process.
Perfect. So to begin with, you might want to know what these 3 components of a really good job search are. First, you need to know yourself. Second, know the market. And third, you need to know the process of how to find a job to succeed in looking for work. Let's talk a bit more about knowing yourself first. So some things you want to know, it sounds kind of funny to say, but you really do want to know yourself and kind of what your skills, your interests are, your abilities. And so really start to reflect upon that and be able to communicate it to an employer. So when we talk about what skills you bring, think about previous programs you've taken, previous jobs, projects you've worked on, volunteer, and really look at what those types of skills might be that would make you fit into a certain job or be hireable. Any experience you have from outside of Canada is perfectly valuable as well, so please think and reflect on that as well. Second, within knowing things, you want to know what you're interested in. Usually, when you find a job and you're interested in what the company does, you'll probably enjoy it more. This is your student job, so you're a full-time student first. So when you're working in your job, you want to make sure that it is something you may find enjoyable or that you're good at. So think about places you want to work, whether that's retail, food and beverage, hospitality, IT, remote, or are you comfortable working in person at some places? And lastly, you really want to kind of understand your strengths and limitations. So really consider what you bring to the table, look at your skills or things that you're always very good at, and also think about areas that you may not thrive as much or don't enjoy as much. So if you're not an extremely energetic, sociable person, you might want to consider what types of roles might fit best for that. Better the fit, and the better you know yourself, the more successful you will be in finding opportunities and making good impressions with employers. Also, you want to think about how many hours you have a week to set to work. Most employers will want to know how many hours you can work and when. So just think about, is it 5, 10, 15 or more? So that's just some of the things that you might want to know about yourself when thinking about looking for work. Now, moving on from that, Lacey, maybe you can tell us about what we need to know about the market.
So absolutely, yes. Once you've done all of that reflection, it's important to know, okay, does that line up with what I'm looking for? So first, let's talk about expectation versus reality. So some of the things that have come up when I've been working with students in the past is making sure that we're clear on things like the standard wages for the jobs that you're looking at. While most part-time jobs hover around the minimum wage range, sites like Glassdoor and JobBank can be really helpful at figuring out what is the going rate for higher paying roles that you might be looking for closer to graduation. Also, what are the working conditions and the work environment, right? So consider factors like, what's the everyday workload look like? Is that something that you would be able to manage on a long-term basis, or do you feel like maybe you might burn out after a while? What are the stress expectations? Career development potential? Is there upward mobility if that's something that you're really wanting to pursue moving forward? And what are the industry norms? For example, is it more common that work is going to be full-time permanent? Or is it an industry where, contracts and freelance is more, the common thing? If that's the case, you need to make sure that you are comfortable with and prepared for those different kinds of expectations. if you're looking for part-time work while a student, it is important, like Calvin said, to make sure that you're focusing on your current experience level and the scheduling of what that employer is going to need. So campus jobs can be really great. Hospitality, also as Calvin said, gig work like TaskRabbit, Uber, Lyft, Skip the Dishes. These are markets where there's a lot more flexibility and you can kind of build a schedule around your class schedule. So those might be better fits for you. Some positions, as Calvin said, may require, different types of shift work. So is early mornings something that is going to work better for your schedule? And is that something that organization is going to expect or can offer? Those would be things that you would want to find out about the companies that you're looking at or the industries you're looking at to see what options are there for you and what would work best for your particular schedule and your needs and your goals. And then a couple more things, just finding a job that you can get to on the day-to-day is really going to influence things. So are the jobs you're applying to remote or are they in person, right? As we've seen, especially over the last year, there are some things that are easily converted to remote opportunities, and there are some that just have to be in person. So what are you looking at and what are the expectations there? If you need to be on site, consider how long it will take for you to get there, and is that sustainable for you? If you have a car, great. Lots of us take TTC or some kind of transportation. And is that something that's going to be reliable for you? There's certainly lots of part-time opportunities that are close to home, but if you're looking for something further, it's really important to assess, will you be able to be a reliable employee in that position? Each industry has different needs, and every type of industry and role has their own sets of needs and requirements. So think about how different IT is from nursing or from hospitality and tourism. It's important to really fully understand what the skills, expectations, and strengths are needed for that. So after you've done that know yourself reflection, you're good to go. But after you do that reflection, you find maybe you have a gap in something. It's really going to be important to figure out how can you address that gap. Maybe it's doing a specialized college or university program. Maybe it's doing some online learning on LinkedIn or Udemy or Skillshare, or even like part-time work and internships, or even volunteering, again, like Calvin said. So there's lots of opportunity there. Okay, so that's enough about the market. Maybe Calvin, can you take them through the process and what that looks like?
Of course I can, Lacey. Thanks so much for all that information. Again, the third kind of part of what you need to do to be successful in your job search is really to understand and know the process. Whether you are just coming from high school into college, you might be an international student, or it might have been a while since you've actually had to apply for a job. Whatever situation, you might want to understand what pieces do I need to put together so that I look well prepared and presented. So things to think about, you need a resume and cover letter. It's kind of funny, you think you might find an opportunity through networking or through talking to people, but you're still going to have to hand over a resume, and it needs to look good. It needs to be error-free. Of course, we can help you with that, or you can come to the career services and check that out. Understand that when you're looking for work, that you need to be interview ready, you need to be professional and friendly. You never know where an opportunity is going to come from, so you really want to think about trying to find opportunities. Again, I said at the beginning, keep in mind you're a student again, and so you really want to think like a student when you're looking for work as well. So you may be having to connect something that's a little bit different than a perfectly direct line of the industry that you're focusing on for school, but you also might be able to find things to develop all your other skills, your transferable skills. So knowing the process will help you. Know that you can go to networking events. We post jobs on GB Careers, or you can look at other online posting sites. Please keep in mind, you still want to read through the job and understand their expectations. There are also online job fairs or in-person job fairs. we are just opening up our city a lot more, and there are a lot of opportunities coming up. I've spoken to many employers that are looking to hire right now. Hopefully we will be posting more and more of that information through either our social media or within the Career Center, so we can make sure that you know what's out there as well. The best thing I can say is talk to as many people as you can, be presentable, be ready for, interview ready on the spot, but also, the best place to start is that resume. Again, we're just trying to get you started here, and we're always here to help. But hopefully these kind of 3 points about knowing yourself, knowing the market, knowing the process will help you start navigating the process of looking for work.
So that's all we had to cover today in terms of tips and tricks for a really effective job search. If you like this video and would like to see more how-to videos, check out our GB Careers YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Instagram at CareersGBC, or check out our link tree. It's going to be linked below to access our full range of services.
Awesome. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your orientation week. Please know that we're here to support you with anything. We really do want you to succeed and find those opportunities. So thank you again.